Cheers.
Should be most kind, please. Thank you.
There, if you want, it's on there. No, Capitano, is it?
30 years on, please.
Good morning.
Apparently we're doing some photos just on the wall.
Steve McElhargin, Mitch Cook, Paul Grove, Tony Rodwell, Bill Warner, Dave Bamber, David Ayres, and they grace the pitch late on Trevor Sinclair, Jamie Murphy, and we've also got with us Mark Taylor, Brad Leeds and Chris Hedgeworth. There you go, the team of 92.
I think that the memories of Billy were generally in respect of, you know, as he was as a person. You know, he's obviously a very good man manager, somebody as well that was always come across fair and firm in terms of how he dealt with people, and he had a hell of a lot of respect from all the players, and you know, was obviously a real top person to work for, if you like, and work with, and they were my memories of Billy and how he was as not just as a manager but as a person as well, somebody that cared and tried to do the right thing by everybody, I think. The 2 seasons for me were, well, 2 and a bit seasons for me were fantastic. It was a difficult start for me because I'd obviously come from Leicester and I didn't end up playing towards the end of the season. The form, my form was a little bit of a dip in respect of making that transition, but from there on in I felt that, you know, I settled in and certainly enjoyed my football here. It was a fantastic place. We had a great bunch of lads to work with. We had a little bit of an upheaval in that sort of first season when Graham left, but Billy took the reins, and obviously we were towards the bottom end of the table, and I remember obviously, like you say, the last game of the season, you know, we could get automatic promotion, so we had one hell of a run, and like I say, it was a great team and a good bunch of lads to play with and in at the particular time. But the disappointment of the first season really, I think, spurred us on, and also the way in which Billy sort of managed that sort of situation with determination to make sure that we went to the final on the day, and it was a lot more business-like in respect of how we dealt with it. You know, obviously the first time we perhaps went to enjoy it, and it was a disappointment in the end, but the second time around we was a lot sort of better, I think, prepared in respect to, probably because we'd been through the experience, but it was the way in which Billy had prepared us to go there and make sure we got the job done.
The biggest thing that came across from Billy, he was honest, and he wanted honesty from his players. He wanted hard work. He wanted just to run through brick walls for him, but if he did that, you know, the praise would be there, and that was quite unusual at that time, because there were a lot of managers that would just scream and shout at you because they didn't know how to coach you, didn't know how to manage you. But Billy would put an arm around you and give you praise when you did well. So yeah, I look back at that time in my early years as a professional, and Billy meant a lot. And even, you know, later on in my career, and now I've retired, I still, when people say who's your best manager or your favourite manager you work for, I always mention Billy. Played for some fantastic managers, Jerry Francis, Ray Wilkins, all ex-players, funnily enough. But yeah, Billy Ayres always gets a mention, and for the right reasons as well, because playing as a young player with a lot of experienced players, a lot of quality. You see in the games at Wembley, I didn't play. I come on as sub and things like that. I was looked after. I was managed not just by the manager but by the players as well, and that was all to do with Billy Ayre. So yeah, a lot of fond memories, and yeah, sorely missed. Every footballer, when you start out, whether you're playing for your school, playing for your town team, playing for Sunday League side, everyone's dream's the same. We all want to play for England. We want to put the 3 lines on our shirts, and it was unbelievable. 6,000 miles away, almost on the other side of the world, playing for England, and I've seen England flags with Blackpool. And when I came on in that game against Argentina, massive rivals, it was one of them, just don't let your country down. And I could feel that I had a lot of support, for the clubs that I played for, especially Blackpool, where I started off. And yeah, it was a dream, and I felt really fortunate to be in that group of players. It was a fantastically talented group of players. We got the win 1-0 against Argentina, and just to play in the World Cup, it just felt like the journey coming from the youth team at Blackpool as a kid, as a 15, 16-year-old, and then going through all the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, the bumps in the road, as all players do. But finally getting there as 28-year-old player, playing in the World Cup, the biggest competition there is to play in football, and doing all right. It was it was a very, very proud moment for myself and my family.
There was none prouder than us, I tell you. It was massive news in Blackpool when you did it, and I remember it was like the mad dash to get you out there as well. It was on all the news. They were trying to get Trevor Sinclair out to the World Cup final. So anyway, thank you very much. It's been lovely to see you.
Thank you.
And all the best.
To be fair, I had a really special relationship with Billy. I was called son of at times with the lads. The gaffer actually picked me up a couple of times en route to games, which was special, but I did get a bit of stick for it as well. But no, he was an absolute giant of a man. Honest, firm. If you stepped out of line, he'd let you know. He'd stamp down on you. And there's 1 or 2 times he did, especially in training. I remember one day in training, and he was the referee and didn't give a decision my way, and I've had a little bit of a tantrum, and then he's threatened to ram the ball down my mouth, which was a bit of a shock, because I thought he loved me, and the whole training session, I just couldn't perform. And then I walked in the dressing room, and he pulled me into the office, and he said, "Look, I'm really sorry what I've just said to you there about the ball incident and whatever." He said, "Give me a hug," and said, I'm sorry." But that was the type of man he was, and I think the likes of Groves, you've already spoke earlier, we'd run through a brick wall for that man. He was absolutely top drawer, Steve.
Yeah, it was.
He was
it was as Eyres was saying, it was hard but fair, if you can put it that way.
Yeah.
And that's, as a footballer, not just a footballer, anything in life, if somebody's pretty straight down the line, and they tell you how it is, I think you've got a great deal of respect for them. Yeah. And that's exactly what I think everybody at the football club at that time had for Billy, and the fans. How it's a little bit, I'm not comparing him to Klopp, nothing like that, but how he came out, his shorts on, middle of winter, I was going to say pissing it, well, I've said it now. Anyway, raining, it was hammering it down. The gaffer would come out, shorts on, t-shirt, or a little jumper, and you think, get the fans going. After a win, bang, he's there, fist pumping, chest pumping, and that reflected on us, and that's how he was in life. And even training sessions, as he just said, training sessions were full on. There wasn't any tippy-tappy. It was like, keep ball, 10 passes, 10 passes, you're doing a fast lap, bang. And that's what I think, that's what we were like. There was no shrieking in training, pulling out, as they do rolling about the bloody floor either. So you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't certainly roll about and show. No, but he was top man.
But what was he like, Steve? Before a game, he'd go through 1 to 11.
Yeah.
And he'd make you feel 100 foot tall.
Yeah.
You'd run. It just made you feel $1 million. And I mean, he just passed all his knowledge and everything onto the lads, and we went onto the pitch. They were talking about the record we had at home, which was second to none. It was unbelievable.
In fairness, I know they said it the last season, but over the 2 seasons, there was very, very few games we lost. Was it the season before Tottenham? I think it was.
Yeah.
Win a piece of.
That's right.
I think so. Teams came to Bloomfield Road back then. For the 2 seasons or 2 and a bit. Billy was in charge. You'd fear nobody here at Bloomfield.
Exactly.
It was. Anybody give them a game.
And you had the pleasure of rooming with me as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it pleasure, but anyway, I certainly roomed.
You roomed together.
Yeah, he's my roommate. Well, funny enough, Eyres and I signed. Jimmy Mullins signed the both of us. We signed at the same time. So
we were the only ones who could understand each other, weren't we?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, a Scouser and a Glaswegian.
So you've been good mates ever since. You've been kept close.
We've not really kept close. We bumped into each other a couple of times, but like in every walk of life,
what football's like.
You never forget the lads who you play with, and
you do.
Seeing them today just brings back 30 years. God blimey.
Exactly, and that's, I think, football. If Billy was here, I left Blackpool, went to Morecambe. Billy left and went to Southport. And I used to bump into the gaffer over the years, sadly before he passed away, and we'd have a banter, and it's much the same now. Especially if you've had a good connection. Which I think we did at that time at Blackpool with Billy. We had a great squad, good banter. I know everybody says that, and you don't have to. You don't have to see each other or phone each other, but when you come together, it's nice. It's a good connection. Yeah, it's good memories.
How much research did you do into that?
Nothing. Not one thing. Back then, and I'll be honest, you goalkeeping coaches, but we never had the technology back then. What I used to do, in fairness, used to get I think it was Garner sports night and certain things. So I did have a little diary, and I knew if we were playing Sunday the following week, like Burnley, Eli took the penalties, or if it's Greza at Scunthorpe, they normally hit it to the left or right. So, but it was all just off the TV. We never had the internet to look at things to do that. So it was just a case of you look at the run-ups. If you look at as I said, it's the first time I've seen it. I think I went twice the wrong way, whatever the wrong way, and just lucky. You go the right way and get a hand to it. But
what was the feeling like when you did get? Because it was a great, it is a full stretch out.
I must admit, I don't. That's the first I've seen it since 5 years now, and it's the first of. Prior to 5 years ago, it's the first I've seen it for 20 odd years. Yeah. I don't really.
Do you remember it? Do you remember actually sticking in your hand?
No, I don't.
Thinking,
I was just having a meal with Bams there, and Bams said, "I never realised it was that good a save." And I must say, I didn't realise it was that good a save either. But I do have a photograph in the house. It's only I don't have football memorabilia in the house. That's the only one. The girls, both my daughters said, "You need that, Dad," and it's there. And I'm full stretch. But I'm proud of it. If that makes sense, I'm not one for talking about things, but
I've never forgotten.
I'm proud of it.
Never forgot it.
But it's funny
it like it was yesterday.
When I was at Fleetwood, Graham Alexander, I was goalkeeping coach at Fleetwood, and Graham Greza came in as manager, and he came up to me and the press, somebody like yourself, said, "Can you remember when Mac O'Harvey said?" And he said, "I've never forgot it. It nearly ruined my career." And I think, nearly ruined his career. You're having a laugh. Graham Alexander. You never missed many penalties.
He never missed
You
another
done
one
alright.
after that, did he, now?
You've done okay out of that, Greta.
And then, of course, Steve saved the penalty, and then David
they
Ayres
were brilliant.
stepped up and took just a penalty I'll never
I
forget.
thought he'd
David.
missed it.
Just,
Yeah, like I
As well.
said before earlier in the room, it was like I was absolutely nervous as hell. I tried to keep the ball up, walking down, feeling confident, trying to, say to the keeper more or less, I'm going to put this away. But I put the ball down. I had visions exactly where it was going to go. I absolutely smashed the ball. I think a lot of people in the stand on the day thought I hit the post, and it's hit the stanchion. I knew straight away it hit the back of the net, and the ball come flying past me, which was weird. But it was fantastic. But
It was a great pen.
it gave me a little bit more confidence because obviously the save that Steve pulled off, and I still say to this day, I'm seeing it again. It was an unbelievable save.
Yeah.
When you look back now,
I didn't realise it was that.
how
I didn't
good it
realise
was,
it was that
no,
good.
top draw.
it was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And then, of course, the next penalty they miss.
The young lad.
Jason White.
Yeah, Jason White. Yeah. In fairness,
balloons it over the bar.
he did, and I felt because he was only a kid. And we were bouncing about. Once I'd stopped bouncing about, I did go up to him because he was lying on the floor.
Yeah.
And because we'd had the disappointment the year before.
Well, Greza was a baby as well.
They were kids. They were
both
what,
kids.
19-year-olds,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And you feel for them. But listen, I don't know how Jason White went on in his career. Graham done okay.
Billy Ayre probably, I have to be honest, Billy Ayre made my career. I played for him at Halifax for a season. I'd been at Leicester from 16 to 21, played a handful of games for them. Got released at 21. Had one or two offers all over the country, but nothing. But I went up to Halifax and spoke to Billy Ayre, who was manager at the time, and he sold everything to me. He didn't sell the club because there wasn't much of a club to sell. It was a fourth division club, probably one of the poorest in the country, but he sold himself to me, so I ended up signing for Halifax, and he made me really because he was such a good, honest man, scary at times, but
Fair.
he was what I needed at the time, and the football was what I needed at the time. We actually did well that first season at Halifax. We almost made the playoffs, which is a kind of an unbelievable thing that team had one or two people that you'd know in it, like Wayne Allison and one or two others. I wish I could remember if I hadn't had a couple of drinks. But there were certain players that went on to do better things. But but it was the man really. He really helped me in my career.
So did you follow Billy to Blackpool then?
In a strange kind of way, effectively Billy signed me for Blackpool, but the manager at the time was Graham Carr, because Billy was his assistant. Right. I didn't know Graham Carr, but I know it was through Billy that I ended up coming to Blackpool. We were probably more confident the year before. I think when you go back again and you're thinking, you realise what can happen. I think we were more confident probably the first year because we had an unbelievable run to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, we did.
Whereas the second time, I think we were in the top three pretty much the whole season and dropped out on the last day, and that. So you do get a feeling of kind of deja vu, and here we go again. And then when it goes to penalties, you think that just heightens it. So you're thinking, definitely here we go again. So I think we were probably more confident the first game.
nerve-wracking again, making penalties, but I mean, 5 superb penalties. That's great ball at the end of the day.
This present moment is going to be the best, hasn't it? I mean, I love to be today for the fans, for the supporters, for the players, on a personal level as well. I won't do it live, but I'll do it today.
Tell us why.
I spoke to your parents last year. I'm sure yourselves, along with the players and myself, although we had a bit of disappointment 12 months ago, we've got some good memories from the last season. We're going to look back on them now we're promoted, and say, well, we stood there. The bond between yourselves and the lads is in evidence tonight. Thanks very much for all your support.
It's been brilliant. All you've enjoyed the season as much as we have. It's been nice to go to Wembley again and a good day out. And a good night out tonight. Next season, it's going to be a great league. Loads of local derbies. We're going to go to Preston and do that.
And it wasn't really just 92. The context of it was obviously that was 12 months on from a journey to Wembley on a Friday night when it all went horribly wrong, very, very sadly. After finishing just outside the automatic promotion places, Torquay in the final on a Friday night, like I say, and then the penalties didn't go quite right. So back to square one that season, 91, 92.
How many it actually was, Dave can't remember and I can't remember, but we split the difference. We think it was about 38 or 39. Dave, those goals got us to Wembley. What's your memory about the season, about scoring all the goals? Not particular matches, not particular goals. Just how did it feel for yourself to be able to sort of get the team to Wembley?
Glad you didn't ask me to remember all the goals and all the games, because I've had too many balls and I can't remember what goals, to be honest with you. But basically, I remember it being a great season where we won plenty of games, I scored plenty of goals, enjoyed the football, good set of lads, and then the disappointment of going to Lincoln, I think it was, late on, fancied us to win big time, and they had the radio on, blasting out, laughing and shouting at the end, and we all wanted to go in the changing rooms and give them a good kicking, but we wasn't allowed. But Billy was the same. It was horrible that day.
Well, you looked on the film we saw there at the end of the game. You looked absolutely dead on your feet, and I'm sure you were. You'd put the shift in as you always have done. How did you feel at the end of the game?
Probably people may not know this, but the week before in training, I was just basically running along and doing some run around the pitch, and I put my foot down, and then I got this horrendous pain in my ankle, and I just sort of collapsed and didn't know what it was. So anyway, it was basically a little piece of bone and chipped off. And kept trapping in the joint line, so I didn't think I was going to be able to play, and obviously family was coming down Wembley again and I wanted to play, so the infamous Dr. Jellicoe, if you live in Blackpool you might know the story.
I definitely wasn't expecting Dr. Jellicoe to come into this evening. But anyway, carry on. Anybody who doesn't know, ask Tony Durkin.
Yeah, it's not a long story, but he isn't working anymore. He injected my ankle with an anaesthetic, and I basically couldn't feel the pain, and I played the whole game. But when it was wearing off as the game was going on, I went to extra time, so that's why I took my boot off and I was sat down. So he got me through, to be fair to the guy. He was, whatever things he's done wrong, he was a good doctor. He was my doctor actually, so I'm not going anywhere with it.
Dave, thank you very much for coming up and speaking to us. Thank you. Just as a little aside, a lovely little tale I like about Dave. I was very fortunate to do a bit of work for him a few years ago, and I remember he won the Golden Boot, of course. 92, I think it was. He won the Golden Boot, and it was there covered in dust in one of his rooms. And I was chatting to him about it, and he told me the story. He said, do you know, nobody's ever won it twice, 2 years running. The year after Dave won the Football League Golden Boot, we went into the last game of the season, and it was against Leyton Orient at home here. And in fact we had to win to stay up, but that's by the by. So we go into the last game of the season, and he's 1 goal ahead of his nearest rival to win the Golden Boot 2 years running. Relatively early in the game, he scores for Blackpool. He knows he's 2 goals ahead in the race for the Golden Boot. His nearest rival, Ian Wright. On the last day of the season, Ian Wright scored a hat-trick. And so Dave didn't become the only man to win it 2 years running, but anyway, he's still got a Golden Boot, and there's not many people who have one of those.
There's some good stories from Billy, just to go back. I grew up in Scarborough, you're not come from Scarborough. I drove over tonight. I went to watch Billy Ayre play for Garner as a centre half. I was asked to go training when I was about 14, and he played there. He signed me 3 times. The 3rd time he signed me was here, and he asked me to replace somebody, Alan Knight. And I'm thinking, I was captain of Halifax at the time, you're joking, are you? And he said, no, come along, great set, that's great club. And he was right, what he said, what he did. A few stories with Billy, because I had a few issues, as it goes, at managers and this, that and the other. But I think Paul spoke, what he said was what he meant, and he just stood by it. You know, I once played under Neil Warnock, and somebody asked me about playing for him and said, I run through a big wall for him, and do the same for Billy. That's what he did to you, that's what he meant to me. You know, he signed me 3 times, like I said, and just asked about the penalties. I'd taken penalties where I played, so I didn't have an issue. I realised what happened the year before. I was absolutely gutted, because I'm basically played where I played, and come here and we're going to Wembley, and I'm thinking I'm getting a new suit, I'm getting a new tie, I'm getting this, that and the other, and they went, no, last year we did all that and we're not doing it this year. Do us a favour, but you know, I think if I'm right, I can remember through the week, I mean, when we ended up beating Barney, we had about 10 days, we did Chester races, with a few days off, but what we did do was sort out who was taking the penalties. And you sort of respect those that said no, because, you know, you realise when you do miss out, when that does happen, sort of how the feeling goes, and, you know, I think, you know, was it my fault we didn't get promoted last year? Well, we sort of said, well, I'll take one, because I'm not that bothered. I'd taken them on my thingy. You felt very confident about doing it. So that was the reason I put my name forward. What we did was practice it. The funny thing now is I'm working in a factory where there's a load of men, and we'd laugh and joke. And somebody yesterday put it on Google, I'm going to watch your penalty because I mentioned I'm coming here tonight. And he argued. If the keeper had dived the right way, would have saved it. Well, he didn't dive the bloody right way, did he?
Great story. Well done, Vic. So the first one goes in, it's 1-1, and then Rosie, captain, time to step up.
I was obviously nervous looking at my penalty. I was fortunate I scored, especially when you look at the quality that went before in terms of Eyres, etc., and Andy, and the way that they finished it. But I'd taken penalties and continued to take penalties, and I think you know, on the day, you know, it's just something that I recall in respect of the year before, the massive disappointment that we had. I think it was a lot more sort of business-like in respect of going down there and making sure we got the job done, because obviously, as Neil said, you know, the hotel before and afterwards was a massive sort of disappointment to the day the year before. So it was making sure that we got promoted and we won that game. Whatever needed to be done had to be done that night.
You then come up, Eyres. Now then, do you feel added pressure because they've just missed?
I was shit myself. Yeah, to be honest, to be fair, I think I'd done a couple of keepy-ups as I was walking up to the penalty spot, trying to be confident in front of everybody, but I was absolutely breaking it. I put the ball down and I thought, I'm just going to smash it. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get the power, I've got to go across the keeper. So I put the ball down, absolutely smashed it. I think it's hit the stanchion. I think everybody thought I'd hit the post, but I knew straight away I'd scored, so you could see me obviously milking it and celebrating. But no, like Paul said there before, the year before, Friday night, it was the most disappointing night in my life. To lose on penalties, it was horrible. You know, we drew 2-2, we should have won the game. We lost on penalties, and like Paul said, we were drilled. The second, you know, Billy instilled it into us that season. We should have gone straight up, obviously, but going into the penalties, everybody was focused. We knew what we were going to do. Put the ball down. We didn't miss a penalty, and unfortunately, a couple of lads missed it for them and, you know, sent us up. But what a fantastic day it was. We didn't stay over. The year before we did, we had a hotel booked and we were going to stay over, and it was awful. The season after, we got on the bus, we travelled back, the bus was full of booze, we had Madonna all the way back, even the band was singing Madonna, and he didn't even like it. And no, it was a fantastic journey home, and as Neil Bailey said, we come back to Blackpool, we had a blast. That was a good lad choice.
Guys, listen, it's been great to get that little bit of insight of what it was like for you three on the pitch at Wembley taking a penalty. Paul Rose, David Ayres, Mitch Cook. Steve McElhargy, where are you? Come on, Steve. What a great save. Talk us through it.
To be honest, I can't really remember it. That's the first I've seen it since what, five years ago. I think when we had the 25th thing. But yeah, I suppose it's like anything. It's a win-win situation for a goalkeeper. There's not really much pressure on a keeper. As these lads compared to the penalties the year before, and then I was just saying to Barnes there, I can't really remember much of it, but every single penalty, even in fairness, Scunthorpe's penalties were all great. But no, as lads said, our penalties were fantastic. Graham Alexander's penalties after that were a lot better than that one. But yeah, it was just nice to see that.
Don't be modest, it was a great.
Yeah, absolutely, that's Dave, you took the words right out of my mouth. Don't be modest, Steve, you got down brilliant to that ball. Ladies and gents, the one who's often forgotten, but he was the hero that day, Steve McElhargy. I know it's not all about, it's about 92 this is tonight, but there's somebody else in the room who deserves a special mention. He is one of the legends of Blackpool Football Club, Tony Green. And yesterday he retired from the pools panel. 44 years. Sorry, 47.
Yorkshire Seasiders?
Yeah.
Is that going to go up in the bar, Phil? Or is it?
That's a good point, yeah. It might well go up in the bar in the Yorkshire Seasiders, so there's a promise to Jay.